is just, it's so good. It's so good, and it's so messed up, and it's way better than the movies. But I think that the show, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that the show is going to continually, because it's set up for 3 seasons already. I think it's going to continually be prequel, because we had the movies. But this one's a prequel to that. And then I think the next season is going to be a prequel to that and that. So I don't actually know if Bill Skarsgård is going to be in season 2 and season 3, because if you've seen the show, you know that really can't be possible, you know? So that kind of makes me sad because I like it as Pennywise because he's freaking terrifying, you know? But I'm really interested to see the prequels of the prequels, you know? I don't really want to give anything away. It's just, if you liked the movies, you're going to love this show. You're gonna love it. But yeah, I think that's all I want to say about it, because I don't want to say too much and give things away. But I recommend it, like, a lot, a lot. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about, everything else. I think, yeah, everything else was on Netflix. Everything, like, Netflix has been on a roll lately, for me at least. Okay, so this next show is on Netflix. It is called The Abandons. Rotten Tomato score gave it a 31. Audience score gave it a 51. I also do not agree with this. I wouldn't give it like a 90, but I would give it like high 80s, mid to high 80s. Like, what are these scores? I don't know. But it stars Lena just a huge ass. Okay. And that doesn't make her like him anymore. But for some reason, he tries to force himself into her life. Like, you are gonna be my friend, no matter what you think about me. We're gonna be friends. And she's just not about that life. But he keeps forcing himself into her life, and they go out to lunch or whatever. And he's like, because she's trying to write a new book, and she's been working on it for like years, and she just can't. Well, he's like, hey, you should write a story about me. Who doesn't want to read about me, right? And somehow, like, it gets into her head, and she's like, I think you're right, you know? So she starts interviewing him and asking questions and just whatever. And slowly she starts being like, did you kill your wife? Cause yikes. Cause things start to get like, wait a minute, didn't you say this and what about this? And stuff starts getting like, what is going on here, you know? And yeah, it's very like mysterious at times. It's creepy and a little scary. It was good, but chaos has been created, okay? But this woman is married to her husband. They have children together, and they've been happily married for years and years and years. They're the perfect couple. But then this test comes out, and her brother gets divorced from his wife, and he does this test, and when you know it, his ex-wife was not his soulmate. She lives over here. They meet, and 2 weeks later, they're getting married. Well, to his sister, this is ridiculous. This is like, you don't even know this person, but they're like, when you meet your soulmate, it just clicks, and you know. And so, within every marriage, there can be disagreements and little arguments and stuff like that, just normal, everyday, nitpicky type of things. Well, now there's this test, and her husband's kind of pissing her off, just little normal type of arguments and stuff. But he's pissing her off. She wants to take the test, just to see, just to prove that, even though he makes her mad sometimes, she really does love him, and they are soulmates. I I I don't know what score I would give this. The score I would give this is WTF. That's the score. That's the score that I give it. This is a documentary which is about Sean Diddy Combs, P. Diddy, Puffy, Puff Daddy, whatever you want to call him. It's Diddy, okay? It's a documentary about, I thought that it was going to be just about, like, the court case and, like, the freak-offs and stuff, so I watched it just because I was like, I gotta know, you know, because it was executive produced by 50 Cent, and he's been working on this documentary for the last 10 years. 10 years before the whole situation with Diddy went down these last couple of years. He's been working on it a very long time. So I wanted to see what it was about. I believe it's 4 parts. It's 4 episodes, and oh my god, every episode I was like, what the F? Okay, because I grew up with Diddy, you know, like, every episode is insane, okay? It's so mind-blowing and insane. I learned so many things that I had no idea about, okay? So, it starts off with his backstory, how Diddy became Diddy, you know, like how he grew up, how he was like a producer. Is that what he was? I don't know. How he got into the rap, like, business or whatever, you know. And I knew nothing of that. And then another episode went into him starting his own business, and Biggie. I love Biggie. It also went into Tupac, and it's like some of the things everybody knew, but we Christmas movie. It is Merry Little Xmas. Merry Little Xmas. Rotten Tomatoes score gave it a 50%. Audience score gave it a 35%. I agree. It stars Alicia Silverstone and Oliver Hudson, which is why I watched it, because I like both of those actors. I think, I don't know, I just like them both. So I was like, okay, finally, it's gonna be a good Christmas movie, because I have watched all the Christmas movies, I always do every December. But it's like, where the hell is the new classics? The ones that you're gonna watch over and over for the next 50 years, Like, because the movies that I watch over and over and over, like, they're from 20 years ago. 20 to 50 years ago, Sorry about my stomach. Where is the new classics? You know what I mean? Like, come on. So I thought, these actors, it could be a good one. Now I know that, like, most Christmas movies are like, they're not like, oh my god, I mean, some of them are. Some of them really are. But I thought this one would be good, and it's so stupid. It's so stupid. I hated it. I watched it because I was like, where is this going? Where is this going? And it was just, it pissed me off. Okay, so Alicia Silverstone and Oliver Hudson. It starts out with them, like, at a coffee shop, like, signing divorce papers or something with their lawyer. Because they've been married for, like, I don't know, 30 years or something, and they've just, I guess, grown apart. They don't really say specifically. Like, I guess he spent too much time working, and she gave up her career dreams to move to this small town with him. And, like, she's created her own business and stuff, but she feels like she gave up on her dreams, and that he wasn't around a lot. So I guess it was her decision for the divorce. Okay. But so they get divorced, but the thing that I was like, whoa, is they were gonna have a happy divorce, and I was like, that's a little too close to home. And okay, so in this movie, they want to have one last good Christmas. They want to do the tradition with their kids. Their kids are grown. They're off to college, except for one of them is graduating high school and applying to college and stuff like that. Anyway, but they want to make this one last good Christmas, or she does, because what everyone doesn't know is after Christmas, she's out of this small town. She's moving to, I don't know, let's say New York or whatever, to start her business that she's always wanted, and, her new life, right? So she wants everything to be perfect. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. And Oliver Hudson has a new girlfriend, and that kind of pissed me off. Like, because they just got divorced, and, like, they haven't even been separated that long, and he's already been dating someone, and she's coming to stay with him for Christmas. I'm like, that's been going on for a long time. Okay. So that kind of made me mad. But anyway, things don't go right, and Alicia Silverstone is trying to be nice to the new girlfriend and trying to work with, like, all these things that are putting a wrench in her holiday plans, It's so dumb. It's so dumb, because you know how it's going to end. Oh no. And I'm not spoiling anything because it's a classic stupid Christmas story, okay? They end up realizing that, oh my god, they still have feelings for each other, and, they want So what happens? He's like, oh yeah, that girlfriend, I'll just... So the girlfriend, like, leaves because she realizes he still loves his ex-wife. Okay? So she leaves. They end up getting back together. And what happens? She doesn't go start her career. She doesn't leave to pursue her dreams. No. She's like, I'll stay in this town and be with you. What? No. It pissed me off. It pissed me off. But, yeah. Anyway, there is one more show, but I did not write it on here because I forgot to. But I just remembered that there is another show that I watch. It is on Paramount Plus. And it is called Mayor of Kingstown. I have never heard of this show. Well, I think I heard about it a while ago. But I wasn't interested in it because it stars Jeremy Renner. I think that's his name. And I don't like him. I've never been a fan of him. And I don't like him. But I was talking to one of my friends, and they were watching the show, and I was like, is that good? And they're like, yeah, it's like one of their favorite shows. And I'm like, what is this about? And they were like, just watch it. So I'm like, okay. I started watching it. I believe there are 4 seasons right now. There is going to be one more season. So I started watching it, and you think that Jeremy Renner is like the mayor of Kingstown, right? No, he's not the mayor, but he's the unofficial mayor because he's the one who actually controls the town. And this town is like a prison town. Everybody who lives in this town is either related to someone in prison, they are gang members, they're police, or they work for the prison, because there's a women's prison and a men's prison. So it's a prison town. And shockingly, this show is based off of, I don't want to say it's based off of a true story, but it's based off of a town and events that happened to, a real person. I think it's like some town in Canada or something like that. Anyway, this, I don't even know how to describe it. It's, how do I want to describe this? It's kind of like The Sopranos mixed with The Shield. If you ever watched that show, The Shield, yeah, that's what it reminds me of. But Jeremy Renner is like this mayor guy, or he's the unofficial mayor because he is in control of everything, but he's into like illegal stuff. His brother is a detective, and he has connections with the leader of, I think, the Crips, I think, who is in control of the Crips in the prison. And then, I don't know, he like shakes hands with a lot of good people and a lot of bad people, and this is a prison town, so, like, what happens in the streets affects the prison, and what happens in the prison affects the streets, and it's like, whoa, and it's so corrupt, and, like, it, to me, it's shocking about what is actually going on in this prison, okay, because it really does affect the stuff that happens in the real world, and it's so messed up, and, like, the things that happen in this prison, I had to call one of my friends because they, like, a billion years ago, used to be a prison guard in, like, the Huntsville prison. And I'm like, okay, the stuff that goes on the show, like, it's based on a it's scary how accurate the show is, and I'm like, oh my god, that makes like the real world much more scary to me, and I don't like it. I don't like it. But the show is super good, and it's very intense. I I didn't watch it years ago because it has Jeremy Renner in it, but because of this show and the role that he plays, now I like Jeremy Renner, and I'm like, so I don't know what the scores are because I didn't write it down, but I do recommend it. I do recommend it because it's actually really good and intense, and it's dark. So if you're into that kind of thing, watch that show. I don't know. Anyway, but that is all the new stuff. I've been watching so many Christmas